games are not art, but movies aren't art either.
Hello, my name is Jiri and you're watching 10 Weeks to Save the Games Industry. In my day job as the CEO of Matchmade, we work with some of the leading game companies in the world, as well as a network of almost 20,000 content creators on YouTube. So the plan here is that for the next 10 weeks or so, I'll also be playing a content creator. So we'll be traveling all around Europe, mostly overland, visiting kind of the gaming hotspots on this continent and talking to the kind of movers and shakers of the industry. And when we talk to them, we plan to find out what are the big opportunities, what are the big obstacles they're tackling, and how exactly they plan to address these things. Now, of course, the one big obstacle, the one big thing that we really all need to address, we all need to tackle, is climate change. So a big part of this project is to show to you what it actually looks like to do business travel without flying, to do all these trains and whatnot. And in addition to that, we also want to go to companies in other industries to learn what they are doing to address climate change and to see if there's maybe something that we as the games industry could learn from them. I'm obviously a games guy. I've spent more than 20 years in this industry, so I know a lot about games, but not so much about what's happening in the rest of the world, which is why I've asked Maria on the other side of the camera to join me on this journey.
Hi, I'm Maria. I'm the co-founder of the GamesForest.Club, an NGO which helps games companies to reduce their ecological footprint and protect forests while growing their business. Before founding the GamesForest.Club, I was head of GamesNet, a network for Berlin-based games companies. And indeed, today we are in Berlin. And Berlin is known for its creative, artistic and independent vibe. And that's why we will start off with an interview with not a AAA studio and not a free-to-play publisher, but with something more Berlin.
Hello. Hello. Our first location, we had some trouble with like a crazy neighbor who we were having a barbecue in the yard, and then he came out and like he grabbed a knife from the table. He was like, "Oh yeah, go away! Like you're making too much noise and so on."
Is that the original Saftladen?
Yeah. I'm Riad. I'm the co-founder of Maschinen Mensch, a Berlin indie games company, and we're sitting here at Saftladen, our collective for indie games. Well, I founded Maschinen Mensch with my co-founder Johannes Christmann, and then and with that company we do video games, and we did Curious Expedition 1 and 2. And then, yes, I'm also a co-founder of the Saftladen collective, which we started between the companies Studio Fispin and Maschinen Mensch. I always wanted to do something with storytelling and with media and so on. And I thought video games are the most interesting medium of our time. Seemed like an unattainable goal, like being like a Hollywood actor or like a stuntman or something that people don't actually do. Got a job at a games company as a mobile games developer at first, before the iPhone. And then eventually I got into the AAA industry, and yeah, then afterwards I started my own company after like 7-8 years of doing that. From my AAA days, I worked on Spec Ops: The Line, which is a anti-war military shooter, if something like that exists, which is was commercially not super successful, but it's kind of like a critical darling, and has like a cult following over the years. And then I worked on Dead Island 2, and worked on some other games which are still under NDA. A couple of companies here at the Saftladen collective are actually also former colleagues from the Yager days. So I think it's super important for super beneficial for ecosystem to have like this mix of big companies, small companies. If people leave Maschinen Mensch to start their own companies, that's also pretty cool, because it means like we're part of like an ecosystem and we are like one tier in the progression of people. I think it's nice. What drew me to the indie space is that you have more of this aspiration to tell a story and to put some social commentary in it and so on. Curious Expedition, we try to model like this fantasy inspired by Indiana Jones and like real world expeditions and so on, of like, oh, these people go on these adventures and it's like exciting and dangerous and like scientific and so on. But then while designing that game, we realized, of course, there are aspects of that period that we can choose to leave out completely and kind of ignore and say like, it's not our it's not our deal, or we felt more we have the responsibility to also express that. When people say they play Curious Expedition, and sometimes they come to me like at an event or something, they're like, oh, I really love the game, but I always feel bad when I play it. Like I feel like an asshole or something. I feel like a dick or like for stealing all this treasure. And like this is, and that's perfect for me, because it means like, the rules are designed for you to feel that way. But it's not like a text that pops up, now feel bad or something. It's like really organically coming through the mechanics that are like slightly guiding you in this direction without you even realizing you're just playing the game and trying to like win, optimize the system like in the real world. And then you end up in a place where you look back and like, oh, what did I do? Like, am I the baddie? That's funny enough. Also, Spec Ops and Curious Expedition were both inspired by Heart of Darkness, which like Apocalypse Now, which we only realized in hindsight. I think Berlin, due to the history, when you see the wall and so on, and like all the stuff that happened here, it's a city where the history is very obvious and like the impact it had on the world and so on. And maybe that inspires people here. When Yager did like a big action game, I think that was like pretty unique at that time. And probably still nowadays, I wouldn't say like German companies are super well known like for action type games and so on. And I think like for the longest time, this fact resulted in the German market targeting or working well on PC. Yeah, it's. I mean, I'm not a mobile developer, but it's like everybody's like, oh, this is like, it's impossible to survive on mobile. Like we're going after Steam, but then I'm like, well, okay, you're in for a surprise, because like Steam is also not like the Eldorado where you just release a game and it makes money. Like I think, I don't know, some stats that like 80% or 90% of games don't make any money basically on Steam. When I started in the games industry, we were using Unreal back in the AAA days, and Unreal back then had a licensing fee of over $1 million US dollar, and obviously things are very different now. The tech has become super affordable, and that's a huge change. When I started in the industry, there wasn't even the option to, oh, should I go into AAA or should I go in this alone or on my own? That path wasn't even visible. They were not even aware. And then I remember when I was working in AAA, and it was like the first wave of indie games coming out, like Braid and so on, and Minecraft. I remember Minecraft, like when I saw Minecraft the first time, like with a shitty website and some, I don't know, PayPal link or something where you could pay €10. It was almost like, I don't know, I felt almost offended by it, because I was like, wait, you can do this? You can just put out like a game that's not even done, like in Java, and you can charge money for it, and like you can charge like €10 for it? Like, this is obscene. Like, how is this even possible? It is a super influential game, I think, also for like the whole, I think due to Minecraft, we have he invented early access, I think. Now we are at over 1,000 games per month on Steam being released. Like 2014 was much easier, and it felt already hard. Like it felt like, yeah, I remember when we launched Curious Expedition 1, and so we launched it, we refreshed the front page of Steam, and Curious Expedition was already only the second newest game on the website. So like in the second, there was literally like already another game released, and that felt like, wow, like so many games are being released. Nowadays, it's so many games that you don't even pop up on the front page anymore necessarily. Like you don't, like back then you had like 1 million views, like guaranteed from Steam. Now you don't, you don't have anything. Like you can launch it, it can completely evaporate and like completely disappear. Games are being embraced by not just nerds or like historically people that have been always like gamers and so on. You know, like the term gamer is like at this point a bit problematic or loaded. And I think that's super exciting to see like minorities, queer folk and so on also embracing gaming and seeing like, oh, there's like a medium we can use and it's kind of like fresh and exciting and so on. And like getting a lot of different social perspectives. As the market transitions and shifts and grows, but also the competition grows, that's of course, that's a big part of what keeps me up at night thinking about like, okay, how sustainable is it having a career in games? And are we going into a direction where it's like basically like music or other media forms where like 99% of people do it like as a hobby or like a self-expression thing, but only like 1% is actually able to live off it. Grabbing the attention of people, like that's the biggest, the most scarce resource we have, like people's time and like getting discovered, getting attention. And we are approaching it, yeah, trying to use the social media, like the ones that are still not oversaturated, like maybe like TikTok, but TikTok is also getting like saturated very quickly. The most important thing right now, I used to think it was like, oh, you have to make a good game. Then I thought, oh, you have to do like good marketing. I think all these factors are important, but that you might do them right, but it's still not enough. Like I think hitting a zeitgeist and making the game that people want. In understanding that, I think it's a whole new level of like challenge. Understanding cultural topics that are out there and like cultural like memes and so on, like ideas that are floating around there, and then making a game for that, for a very specific target group. I stopped traveling with plane by plane within Germany and so on. So I go to all the events and so on by train, or don't go at all. I mean, there's like hybrid events and so on where they can attend remotely. Some big publishers that I won't name and so on are saying like, oh no, like our games are not political and so on, even though they are referencing really specific real world stuff. It feels to me a bit dishonest. And then once we get there, then I think, yeah, like I said, even in the game mechanics and so on, there's so much political meaning. And for example, you doing a business simulation, and then all your game is about like exploiting resources and so on. Even if you don't make like a specific statement about like how to contextualize that, even just in the game mechanics, there like certain world views come through. There is a market for that as well, because like it's one thing for us to create these type of games, but it's another thing for the market to actually like buy those games and like allow for more of these type of games to be existing. For example, in Curious Expedition, we have characters that are also non-binary or gay, and somebody, and for us it's like, oh, we don't make a big fuss about it or something. It's just like in the world, like in the real world. And we had like some Steam reviewers saying like, oh, this game is pushing like a gay agenda. And obviously people notice what you put in the game and like what kind of exploitation mechanics and so on you put in the game. And we are saying a lot through those mechanics as well. and we have a responsibility to kind of be aware of what we're putting out there, what kind of messaging. So I think there's a lot of power and yeah, a lot of options we actually have as game developers besides making like very just statements and so on. And but what's important for me is also that these games, you know, there's like sometimes people talk about like serious games in the sense of like, oh yeah, we can do like a climate change game, and then it's like you learn a lot and so on. And I think that's cool, like for educational environment, that's cool. But for me personally, I want to make games that can stand on their own, like with, and that are just like really well done, that are really fun, they're really engaging and so on, and that can also have a message on top. I think that's not a divide there. That's for me exciting to kind of explore these topics within a economical framework that's still working. Yeah, and I think one of the emotions that games can evoke that I'm most interested in is the feeling of guiltiness. Like if I can make the player feel guilty, that's super exciting to me, because I feel that's one of the most unique emotions that games can evoke. In contrast to like a book, for example. Like I might read a book from the perspective of somebody that's doing like evil stuff, and then I might feel sympathy, and then they do some evil stuff, and I might feel like, I'm feeling like a bit bad for like rooting for this person and so on. But I'm still like so detached because I'm the observer of this person, and I didn't have any choice in the first place. But that's really exciting about games, because we can put you in the role of the actor, and it's you basically doing the shitty thing in the game, and then you feeling guilt about it. And I feel it's especially interesting if you can do that like in a subversive way, where, for example, in Spec Ops, it's kind of, I think it's a great game, but it's a bit on the nose in the sense of like it forces you into these situations, and then it's like, are you feeling bad about it already? And I think it's even more interesting, kind of how we try to approach it, at least in Curious Expedition, is kind of like to massage you in this direction with the game mechanics, and then you yourself like coming to the, like having like this moment of, wait a moment, like I feel pretty bad about using the strategy here which I discovered, and that's to me like 10 out of 10. It's like the most interesting space for game design and for games as a medium in general, because I feel that's really unique to games. The real world often works like this, like people rarely see themselves as the villain, obviously, and people are like, well, what can I do? I'm just like a small cog in the machine, or I'm just like doing this tiny part. Who cares about it? It doesn't have impact. Or yeah, I don't have any other option, and so on. And like putting yourself into this perspective and then acting out of that perspective, I think it's pretty valuable and can give you a lot of insights into understanding, okay, the mechanics of how this stuff plays out in the real world and in other situations and so on.
Okay, hello, I'm Liz, and I'm the founder of Rebirth Studios. Rebirth Studios focus on reusing textiles, any sort of textiles. We use leftover fabrics, vintage garments, unsold garments, so everything that it's not used anymore or is there. And then we are also an upcycling agency where we work with artists, brands, events, hotels, and help them to reuse their textile waste or minimize their textile waste. You have stuff that really quickly becomes waste because it has maybe a little hole or a little stain, or for events it has the last year's print on it, you know, and you can't use it anymore. And so we look at the company's waste and then define products together that they can reuse or that they use again.
How did you came up with the idea? Like,
I was working for a big fashion online shop before. There's so much garments that are not bought, or that are just overproduced, or so much leftover fabrics. Like I worked for a big designer at some point, and they produce thousands of jackets, and then last minute someone says, "Oh, I don't like the colorway," and then all these products, they just go to waste. So this is, for example, a rain jacket we did out of like scrap fabrics, like leftover fabrics.
It feels really nice.
Yeah.
Actually. And with the hoodie. Yeah. No, I really love it.
That's a bit like my approach. I don't know. I don't want to lose the fun and the fun of expression, and I think we can. It's just about producing the products better and finding a better way, and not to just stop doing it. If that makes sense.
Okay, I just I just go for it.
Yeah.
Like whatever. Nice. That's cool.
Vintage is really big in Berlin. I mean, especially in summer, you have you can literally go to 20 different cool vintage or flea markets. My personal opinion, Berlin, a lot of people think, I mean, there's a lot of black.
Yeah, Berlin is like.
And people think that's something I find funny. People are really like, yeah, I'm so individual. And then you're like, no, you look like everyone else. But like, I don't know.
It's a specific
bag. Yeah. But I would say vintage and black is the first thing that comes to mind. But I also really see the whole, if you look at the fashion week, for example, like, I feel like when you are a young brand or have a new approach, like if it's not based on a sustainable approach, there's no room for it. Like, to be honest, I'm probably in my little sustainable fashion bubble. If, for example, there are some specific, you can win a show, or you can create, like you get money from the state to create an event, and all these things, you basically, like, if it's not based on a sustainable collection or a sustainable approach, you don't get it. I'm not saying that upcycling is the only solution for it, but I feel like it is a good step in between.
Nice.
If you know what I mean. And right now we do have all this stuff, so we might as well use it.
Maybe one last thing, because like we are also going to the Berlin Fashion Summit. Do you have any tips? Like, what should we do? How can we prepare?
Just don't wear black.
Fashion. Today I'm wearing the Finnish hymn shirt from the San Francisco fashion brand Beta brand, which is inspired by Finnish culture and martial arts. On my head we have a hat from the Swedish brand Husman, inspired by cinnamon rolls called kanelbulle. And today I brought Riad with me to dive into the world of fashion. Let's go, Riad.
Hey, Yuri.
Hey, so what are you wearing?
Some colorful stuff, I don't know. I don't care too much about fashion, to be honest.
This sounds promising. Let's go.
Let's go.
So how many times have you been to the Berlin Fashion Week?
Oh, girl, every year.
Every year?
No, I'm just kidding. It's the first time. I'm excited to see.
Is there any fashion when you have when you have go-to fairs? Is there any fashion happening?
There's just a lot of merchandise, like merchandise stuff, like of influencers and games and so on.
How do you make it as an indie game? Like,
you make it hardly. It's hard. It's tough.
Yeah. Because it's also very tough to make it as an independent brand. How important are influencers in the scene, and what is the normal gaming influencer? Like, how is it Twitch, or what's the?
It's Twitch or YouTube.
Twitch, yeah.
Yeah, and it's pretty hard work. I wouldn't want to switch myself because some streamers they stream like 8 hours every day, right? And you have to be entertaining for 8 hours. And
I find this concept really crazy, that people look at other people playing games. I mean, I guess in fashion it's the same, because you look at people dressing yourself.
And are they important for you? Like, do you try to appeal to them in some way?
Yeah, I mean, it is important, but you definitely see that the market is so oversaturated. It's really hard nowadays to find an audience, and like
you still use influencers, but I feel like for me as a small brand, you pay a lot of money for them, and I feel like the outcome is just, I would rather spend that money and throw a party. If you look at Instagram, and if you look at, I think last year was the first year where the less people signed up for Instagram, so there was no growth. And I feel like people again want to like experience real things. And that's something I guess, how is there such movement? And because I mean the gaming is, I don't know, don't take me, but it's not real, right? Like you're in this like...
No, it's not real, but it can be authentic, right? And I think that's a big angle for indie games, trying to be more authentic and showing more the people behind the games as well. When I started, I came out also of a bigger company where it was just like a small cog in the wheel kind of thing, the machine. And when we started our own company, we put also ourselves front and center, and we told not just we didn't just speak about the game. We spoke also about us. Like, why are we creating this game? What's our background? Why do we care about all these things? But I would be interested first. Did you always be in the sustainable area of fashion, or did you come in from another angle first and then you discovered this on the way?
Both. I mean, my hobby was always secondhand and more the sustainable side, but I actually never realized that it was sustainable. You know, it was more the fun part of finding treasures. And but it was a way of, I worked for a big online shop before and worked in like for big designers. And when you are in this fashion industry, you see all these like waste and all these mass production, and you kind of find your way. Would you say the average gamer already has touch points to sustainability?
Probably not.
Probably not?
Yeah.
What I'm trying to do is to basically look in every industry and see where textile waste is happening. And I feel like now that I learned, I feel like the gaming industry is also a big industry where people consume a lot of merch products. There's probably a lot of overproduction. And yeah, my vision or mission is to help games, to help people that produce merch to don't end up with so much waste. Do you think that this is like something where the gaming industry would be open to?
I think generally yes, but I don't think there's the awareness yet for that.
Yeah.
But if you go to Gamescom, which is the biggest games trade show in the world, I think like a huge amount of visitors, they have a whole expo area, like a whole hall just for merchandise. So it's like a big topic in the games industry. Exhibitors use the bags kind of as a marketing area, so they give like people ridiculously big bags, like really like
plastic bags. You mean like just with full of stuff?
Some bags are bigger than taller than the people carrying them. It feels.
Oh wow!
So I think there's some opportunity to save waste.
I would say something like this. In this matter, the fashion industry is more advanced. If they would do this at a fair like this, you would be shamed. You know, you would be like, why do they give me plastic bags? Like, it wouldn't happen. What's interesting for the gaming industry that products, they don't have to change in their look or in their quality, and it can still be a sustainable product. Like, there are ways of creating super cool merch products, and they're upcycled and they're recycled, and you probably wouldn't even notice, you know? So I feel like, and maybe this is a good way of showing people that they don't have to compromise in quality or in excitement and fun and variety, I think.
Yeah, it's a similar game that I did. It's called Curious Expedition of my company Maschinen Mensch, and it deals with some tough subjects like colonialism and exploitation and so on. But we try to approach it in a way that's not super, that's still attractive, right? That still has it's like nice graphics and it's like appealing and it's fun to explore. And then when you get, when you interact with it, there are all these other additional layers on top. And I think that's what you're saying as well. It's like you have to attract people with like cool fashion and think that are nice. And then when they discover that, then there are all these additional layers. But you cannot just based on have this ugly piece, but it's like sustainable, like nobody would buy that.
I heard a quote once and it was like, if you want to change the system, you have to throw a better party. And I always think about it like, you know, just because it's my products are upcycling. They still need to be cooler or better, or I don't know if cooler is the right word, but they need to meet the same standard as the other party. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. I feel the same about games.
Yeah, I feel like we're at this time where the products or the games have to be the selling point, and then after that, the cherry is the sustainability.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, what did we learn?
We learned that you have to throw a better party if you want to get your political message across.
What goes on up there?
Probably a swinger club.
Welcome to Berlin.
I don't know. Probably it's either a swinger club or another co-working space nowadays. Are you part of the brand, or is the brand you, or are you? Is the brand in front of you?
I would say the brand is around me, or I am the
I'm not very good at this. What are we expected to say? Like, what is the thing?
What?
What are we expected to say? I just keep filming.